Lo siento, es un pequeño sneak peek. Les dijimos que iba a ser algo que, pues en este caso, van a tener que ver muy, muy pronto. Please. Continuando un poco la conversación, I would like to ask you, what was important to tell the First Purge story?
Well, the story, the way the Purge started is the writer and director James DeMonico. He lives on Staten Island with his wife. He's insane, and his wife is terrific, and his wife kind of keeps him on the rails. They were driving about 5 or 6 years ago, and someone cut them off. James was driving, and James said, "I don't kill that person," or something like that. And they were talking in the car, and they said, "What if you could actually do that? What if you could do that 12 months a year?" And that's what started James on his crazy thinking. And I think what happened along the way is the politics of the United States just started to drive James crazy. And I think he put that rage into the Purge series. I forget if I said this before, but every time there's an act of violence, as you all know, in the U.S., a lot of people's response is, we need more guns. And so the idea of this, and America's Nightmare in France, people understand it better, outside the U.S., is that this is a cautionary tale. If we keep doing this, if every time people are shot in the United States we add more guns, then why not just say, hey, 12 hours a year, let's make killing legal? And that was how it all started. And I think the original mythology behind the Purge, actually this isn't even in the movie, but this is what our thinking was, is that the U.S. defaulted on our debt and China took over the United States because we defaulted on our debt, and they put a corporation, which was called the Founding Fathers, and the Founding Fathers was a company, not a government, in charge of the U.S. And the plank of the company, the big thing that their big effort was this purge, because they thought correctly that if the way to get all the good, the way we judge our countries, unemployment, the economy, like if you actually had a purge, you could positively affect all of those things, because poor people would kill each other. So if you didn't have a job, you'd be dead. And so unemployment would go down and the economy went up. And that was the idea. And the idea, the reason we did the first one is to show what it was like, what the test was like, and how the test had to be manipulated to actually work.
How do you decide the next story? What has to have for you to say, yes, we're going to do that movie?
Well, we have our movie business and our TV business are very different, but our movie business, for the original movies, not the sequels, but the originals, are all low budget. And there are a lot of benefits to low budget, but one of the biggest benefits is the way a typical movie gets greenlit in Hollywood is you have to have comps. So if there's a $100 million movie that they want to make, you have to compare it to the movie that this movie and this movie and this movie. So by definition, the movies resemble one another because they get greenlit based on the fact that they have to resemble one another. We get to do the opposite. The way we pick movies at our company is a script comes in, there's a group of us, we read the scripts over the weekend, and on Monday, we argue about the scripts, but one of the key components is it has to feel like nothing we've seen before. And that's not because we're geniuses, it's because we make low budget movies, so we can take big look at this, is so upsetting, just the mask. Oh, they're all there. Oh
the
God.
masks. Yeah.
Happy
birthday.
Yeah, exactly. So it allows us to pick original things. They don't always work. Some of our movies are released much smaller, some are bigger, but the process allows us to try. Get Out is a great example of that. The First Purge. Almost every movie we've ever made has been sitting around Hollywood for 4 or 5 years before The Gift, all these movies had been sitting around. For Paranormal Activity, they'd all been sitting around for a long time. And what we do is we say, look, we'll make it, but instead of making it for 20 million, you got to make it for 4.
That's great. I have some of the numbers, and it's impressive to see how Paranormal Activity, $15,000 just transformed into $193 million.
That was a good one.
Someone else has a question?
Here.
Perfect.
Yeah, right here. Right here.
Hello, right here.
Hello, Andy D from Gearbox. What was the most difficult moment that Blum has had gone through, and how do you overcome that?
The most difficult moment was we produced Paranormal Activity, and we made it at Paramount, and Paramount was in real turmoil. And the result of the studio being in turmoil is because the movie was such a success, they had to take all the credit for the movie. And I actually, amazingly, had an arrangement with Paramount where they were paying me a salary and paying people who worked for me. We had a first look deal with Paramount. And after Paranormal Activity came out, about 10 months later, they fired me. You know, they threw me off the lot. And what was so difficult about that moment, there's been a lot of difficult and a lot of great, more good than bad, of course. I'm happy to say I feel lucky about that. But there have been a lot of moments, but that moment specifically was so difficult because everyone always says, once you have a hit movie in Hollywood, the world changes. And I had a hit movie in Hollywood and I got fired. And so that was the hardest thing to do. I got thrown off the lot. There was a woman who ran a company, and she gave us a little office there, and I kind of was starting over. And it was about 2 or 3 years from that time that I really got the company up and running. We had to make 3 other low-budget successful movies to be recognized. We had to make Insidious, Sinister, and The Purge. And The Purge is the best experience I ever had on any movie because The Purge is the opposite. When we did The Purge, that's when my company turned around, but I think you just have to get up and keep going, and not feel sorry for yourself and keep going. But there's definitely been up and down all the way along the way.
Perfect. That was a great answer. Okay, we have another question over there.
Mr. Blum, thank you for this. I'm a huge Unbreakable fan. Thank you for making Glass. I've been waiting like 20 years for that thing. I was wondering, how did you got the rights from, I believe it was Buena Vista, which was owned by Disney, and got it to you and sneak it into Split? Because I was like, I think that was a wish I made on my birthday a long time ago, and it happened, and it was scary.
Well, it's kind of a good story. I'll try to tell the short version of the story. So Disney had the rights to Unbreakable, like you said. We made The Visit with Night at Universal, and we made Split, and The Visit was a successful movie, and it was a good movie, but it was nowhere near as successful as Sixth Sense and Night's earlier movies, and so he went to Disney and he said, "Look, I've just made The Visit. I want to make this another small movie. It's called Split. It's a cousin of Unbreakable. He kind of said." And they had a kind of a fraught relationship with him early. It was a very, very strong relationship, and then they kind of parted ways. And no one really thought it was going to amount to much, is really the truth. And they gave him Split. But the interesting part of the story, and so that's how he got Split. But when we went to make Glass, because Split was so successful, it was a very different story. And it was very, very complicated. And what happened with Glass, as you probably know, is it's a split rights movie. So Disney has all of international. So in Mexico, the movie will be distributed by Disney. Domestically, the movie will be distributed by Universal. And that is a very, it happens every so often, but it's very complicated. And it was a lot of lawyers got paid a lot of money, and they worked it out.
Tenemos otra pregunta por allá, okay? Hi.
Rosanna, everybody calls me Rose. I have 2 questions. The first one is, as a film producer, you said that scary movies, that they are very big in USA now and in the world. So personally, why do you think that scary movies are important, or why do you work so much with scary movies? And the second one is, in many stories that you have produced, the heroes are saved in the end, well, somehow saved, mostly. So does this have a meaning, or you unconsciously think that there is a way to show hope, even with all the violence that is shown, that exists in the world, in the real life?
Those are very different questions. Those two
that's a
questions.
good question.
They're great questions. Why do I make scary movies? My parents were in the art world. They were both. My mother was a professor of art history, and my dad was an art dealer. And when I was growing up, I was exposed to art a lot, but it was for a very, very small group of people. and I thought it seemed very elitist to me. And so I always was driven to do something from a very young age. Even when I used to work in, just do independent movies when I was in my 20s. And my dream was to do big movies that reached a lot of people. What I didn't know when I was young is that, and what I learned is, what I love is doing little movies that reach a big audience. Because when you just do it, I did one big movie, The Tooth Fairy with The Rock, right? It was a $65 million movie. I hated producing it. I hated making a movie that cost so much money because everyone is so stressed out all the time. It's just not fun. It's just so much anxiety all the time. The great thing about low-budget movies, they're fun. The stakes are not that high. And so really I found the perfect niche for myself, which is independently made movies distributed by a studio. That's kind of how I landed to where maybe that kind of hopefully answers some of your question. Scary movies if you take on a percentage basis the amount of our movies that end with a happy ending versus Hollywood, were much, much lower. Like, most studios end, almost 95% of studio movies end with a happy ending. I would say, I don't know, 40%, 50%, maybe about 50-50. I think if you're not, so Get Out had a terrible end. Get Out had a really, really sad ending. The first ending of Get Out was really sad and a downer. And I was really against it. I watched it, the first time I watched it with an audience like this, they were so into the movie, they fell in love with Daniel, they were just with it. And then Daniel wound up in jail, and the audience just felt really let down. So I'm not against a sad ending across the board, but it's really gotta fit the tone of the movie. We made a movie called Unfriended 2, and the first Unfriended, both of them end very grisly, in a very grisly way, but I think the movies kind of have it in their DNA. I think if you had a happy ending on the movies, it would just feel wrong. And so I guess I would say I don't have a single feeling about it, except in a funny way, you really, if you're gonna kill everyone at the end, you really have to earn it in a way that I think most movies don't, most people don't wanna see that. We had the same thing with The Gift, trying to figure out how to make that end in the right way. But it's very complicated. And of the additional photography that we do on our movies, it's 90% of the time, it's the end. We'll redo the end, just like we did on Get Out. Actually, like we're doing on the First Purge. Big secret, but no longer. But that's one of the things that we're working on.
Hey, there's another question of the.
Yeah, here. Hi, my name is Arthur. Well, I have two questions. The first one is, I know you like to do low-budget movies, but I'm thinking, is there a top limit for your movies, or no, we spend too much money in this, or we can't pass this line of budget, or is just natural?
Yeah, my limit, we've broken this rule for sure, but my limit generally is 5. It's $5 million. And the reason that it's $5 million is that's about as much money as you can spend and at least not lose much if you just go straight to Netflix with the movie.
Okay.
And I don't want the pressure on me or the filmmaker of thinking the movie has to be open on 3,000 screens in the US. I don't want to decide how the movie is distributed at all until it's finished and we look at it. And we just released a movie on all across digital a week ago called Stephanie. And it's a really interesting movie. It's not super commercial. It doesn't belong on 50,000 screens across the world or 3 in the US, but it's interesting and it's cool and we'll recoup on it, and that allows us to keep making movies, like Get Out or The Purge or the movies that we've done, because if they come out a little more off-center than we had hoped for or wanted, we still can get our money back or most of our money back from digital platforms, and that level is about 5.
Okay. Well, and the other question that I had is, Blumhouse has changed the way many of us see independent movies. Well, it has inspired many people, and I wonder, what are your plans for the future? Like, I know you're going digital in many things, TV series, but in the long run, what do you expect?
What I'd like to do is I'd really like to have a channel a button that says Blumhouse, that we could put TV and movies and short form digital, that we would have like a channel or a network that would have our name on it, and that's where you could get our content. I think that's kind of a long-term goal of the company.
You were talking about the future of Blumhouse, and I think you have a really big gift right now that it's Halloween, that it's you're working on that, and I think a lot of us has a lot of questions about this franchise.
I'm ready.
So, what can you tell us about this, or do you prefer that we do something?
No, I could tell you. What would you like to know?
I would like to know
a Halloween question.
When the trailer is gonna come up.
Well, that is a question that I have heard before. And I will tell you, the answer is soon. I would say between soon and very soon.
Well, so I think the in between soon and very soon would be maybe. Could we get something?
I leave that. Could we get a trailer?
Yeah. Could we jump into that soon and very soon? Like now, can we get something like a trailer of the Halloween movie?
I'm not sure.
Well, I have a surprise for you.
Maybe.
Yes. We also have a surprise, and I think it's the moment that you introduce us to this special gift that we have to the Mexican audience.
Okay, is that what we're doing right now?
Yes.
I thought that was coming later.
No.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to get in. First of all, I'm going to get killed for showing this trailer because every time we show this trailer in Vegas, and my Twitter will not stop with no matter what I tweet. I'm like, I had a great breakfast with my kid this morning. When are we seeing the Halloween trailer? Everything that I tweet, there's very so I'm going to get in big trouble. So I'm thrilled. So I guess we're going to do it. Are we going to talk after?
Yes, we're gonna have one more question.
One more little Q&A thing, because I want to hear what people think after. I want to hear, because we haven't really shown it for the real audience.
Yes.
It was still kind of industry, so I want to hear what you guys think.
Let me tell you that you are the first ones to see this trailer in Latin America. We really
No, wait. It's first one ever anywhere outside the U.S. And in the U.S. it's only a Comic-Con, which is an industry event.
Yes.
So the first general audience ever anywhere in the world to see this is right now.
Exactly. And please, we only would like to ask you to keep a little bit more of the secret and everything that happens, because this is a surprise for you. Enjoy the moment.
Yeah, don't talk about what's in the trailer on Twitter, because otherwise they'll come to my house and burn it down.
Yes, exactly. Please enjoy Halloween trailer. Wow. Jason.
All right.
Jason, I got goosebumps.
Okay, good. Did you guys like it? Was it good? Did it live up to it? Anyone disappointed? Don't tell me if you were. All right, good. That was a hard movie to make. Hard movie to make.
Well, so this is the moment that you can ask questions. We're gonna have 3 questions that you can make to Jason. So I think, where's the microphone?
Yes.
Here? Okay.
What was one of the main struggles you had to bring back a franchise such as Halloween, as iconic as Halloween, and continue it while at the same time bringing something new to this era and to our generation?
Well, I think that is the main struggle, right? Is how do you make a Halloween movie today that feels different enough that it should exist, but not so different that it isn't connected to the original, to the franchise. And the way that we went about doing that is by putting pieces together that I hoped would create that. So Danny McBride and David Gordon Green have a very original voice, aren't horror people, and really they're crazy Halloween fans, but they're not, obviously they're more comedy than horror, but they have a voice which is unique. And pairing them with John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis, who obviously couldn't be, they are the original movie. And when we got involved with the movie, I wanted to get involved. I tried for a long time to get in there, which I finally was able to do. And when I did do it, finally I said, look, the only way I want to do this is if we bring John back. And I said, well, we tried and couldn't. I said, well, let me try. And I met him, and he came back. And I just thought that was I thought the most important thing was to do exactly what you're saying, which is to find that balance. And the way that we went about it was doing it with people. And hoping they would do that. And I think the movie does do that. You'll see it soon enough, and you'll be able to judge. But I think we managed to balance those two things.
Okay, thank you. And a quick one. If you were to live in the purge world, would you purge or would you be purged?
No. I'd be under my bed.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I have a couple of questions. First, I noticed in your filmography you have a few non-genre films like Whiplash and a couple others.
Whiplash is the horror version of an independent movie. It's a Sundance horror movie.
Well, so what I wanted to ask is, how did you choose projects that are not really in sort of the horror genre?
Well, I like to think it's dark genre. So we're like in TV, we're doing a show, we're doing an 8-part series on Roger Ailes. And for me, he's terrifying. So one of the ways I always describe it is like not things that not necessarily make you jump out of bed at night, but keep you up at night. So Roger Ailes, the existence of Roger Ailes, even though he's dead, still keeps me up at night. So that's kind of and I think Whiplash has dark themes. Normal Heart has dark themes. The Jinx has dark themes. So I like to think of the company as not just horror. I think Get Out is horror, thriller. And so it's and M. Night's movies are all thrillers, so I kind of put a broader lens over it. I like dark themed things because I'm sick and crazy.
So I think we have time for one more question.
All right, there's
I think this guy with his cell phone.
First of all, welcome to Mexico. It's an honor
Thank you.
to have you here.
Very nice to be here.
I'm sure that a lot of people are very excited to be here. Speaking about Halloween, what the things that scared people back then when the movie premiered, it's not the same that now scare us, because we live now in a horrible world. And how do you handle with this movie and with every movie to scare the people who live in real life, who it's scarier than you are doing in movies? And second of all, in Mexico we have a lot of great filmmakers that they are doing horror films. You said that you could be interested in being here. Is there a movie or a Mexican filmmaker that you have seen or heard something?
I'm going to do the first question and then the second question. I'll answer in a different way. The world, there's a connection between how scary the world has become and horror. It's somehow those things. Somehow the scarier the world gets, the more people want to come into a kind of safe place to be scared. I don't know why that happens. But it's clearly happening. I don't know why. It's good for our business. But there is some connection there, and I don't think it doesn't. It's not, the scares don't really have to be scarier in the movies. I keep bringing up Get Out because I don't know why I keep bringing up Get Out, but if you look at the scares in Get Out, they're not that scary. I mean, there's not big jump scares in Get Out. The deer hits the window. I mean, I've seen that a million times, but the movie's very effective. So something about the fact that the world is kind of so unstable, it leads people in, and you don't really have to change the movies. The movie, this is not a Mexican filmmaker, but the legend that I've been trying to make for a long time is La Llorona, and there have been a million La Llorona movies obviously made in Latin America, but there's never been a real English language La Llorona movie that would be great. And it's something we've been developing for a long time and have not gotten it right because it has to serve both audiences. But that's one thing that we're working on at the company.
We hope to see it really soon.
Hope to see it. Hope to see it very soon. All right, should we do one more? Come on, one more.
Yes, one more.
Undoing all the mythology established by the sequels, including his own second part.
Okay, I'll tell the John Carpenter story. This is a good last story. So I'd met John Carpenter like once before, but we didn't know each other well. And I set a meeting with his agent, and I said, I want to try and see if he'll join us in Halloween. And the agent said, they already tried, and the negotiation, and the money, and then this, and that. I said, let me just sit with him and talk to him for a second about this. So I went over to his I went over to his office. Actually, he has a little bungalow in a very small, modest office. And I went in, and there he is. He works with his wife, Sandy. They're kind of a team. And I sat down, and he's very gruff. He's like, so you're doing Halloween, He just doesn't start nice at all, And I said, yes, I'm doing it, and I love your movie just like and we don't want to fuck it up, like we really want, and we want you to that's garbage. I said, no, he said, well, what approvals do I have? I said, you have no approvals. You have no creative approvals. I said, but if we do something that you hate, you have the internet, and you can certainly make our lives very, very difficult. Growled at me again. So then I said this. I said, John, I'm not making the movie without you, but I'll tell you something. The movie is definitely going to get made without either one of us. So I told the folks making the movie, I'm only making it with you, but if you don't do it, I'm not doing it. And if we don't do it, they're going to do it, and we're going to have nothing to do with the movie. So that's really the choice. That's what we got to think about. And he growled at me again, but kind of raised an eyebrow. I left the meeting. It was 3:50. I was in there for 15 minutes. I left. I had no idea what he was. I called the agent. I said, I don't know if the meeting it either went very well or very badly, but it's over, and I'm out here on the street. It's done. Yeah. And a day later, you know what he called up? He said, I'm in. I want to do it. And I said, you have my word that we're not going to make any single big move without your blessing. And we haven't. We didn't hire the director without his blessing. We didn't hire Jamie Lee Curtis without his blessing. We didn't start shooting the script without his blessing. We brought him to the set. And actually, the funny kind of, the end of the story will be if you like the movie. Hopefully you will. But the funny kind of end of the John Carpenter was we were on the set together for a little. I was there for a day, and John was on the set, and he was furious that he was having such a good time. He was pissed that he was having fun. And it's actually been a very, very good collaboration through. But that's the John Carpenter story. All right, that's it.
That's great.
Thanks, guys.
No, and thanks, Jason.